Honestly, day by day, Hi3D is surprising me. And so here are a few key points that Hi3D improved in the version 3.0 that we're gonna talk about. Number one is fine geometry. The detailed, finer edges are much better in the models. Number two, much more cleaner and usable mesh. It is not just about adding more details. The geometry feels actually more cleaner, which leads to accurate usable models. Number three, better structured models from every angle. This one is really important. A reference image normally gives the AI only one angle, but Hi3D 3.0 does a better job. It figures out the sides, the back, and the hidden parts of the model. Number 4, up to 8K textures. So the textures are another big update, guys. Due to 8K textures, smaller patterns and details stays much sharper when you get close to the model. Number 5, better with complex images. So this is where all the improvements really come together. With detailed products, matcha, organic subjects, or architectures, Hi3D holds on of much more original design instead of simplifying every single thing. So that is exactly what I want from an AI 3D tool. And last but not least, split to print. It can help break a complicated model into printable parts and prepare the connection between those pieces, and it saves a lot of manual work when it comes to 3D printing. So before starting the video, I just wanted to tell you guys that on the right side of my screen is Meshy AI and then on the left side is Hi3D. And also I am gonna try to maximize the settings on both of these AI 3D tools so that the images turn out really high quality and the models that are generated from it are even better. And here, as you can see, the settings are maximized and I'm just gonna upload the images over here. So first up, this matcha reference I'm gonna try to generate, and this is definitely not an easy image. There are tiny mechanical pieces, sharp edges, raised sections, curves, and a lot of parts overlapping each other. So on the both AI 3D tools, I'm just gonna click on generate, and over here as well, I'm gonna click on generate. And now the models started generating. So Meshy AI generated the model pretty quickly. I'm just gonna go to my texture settings. I'm gonna make sure to keep it at 8K and I'm gonna generate it from here. So the models are generated. Let's start analyzing them from close up. So I generated this model with Hi3D version 3.0, and this is one of those results where you really need to zoom in. Look at the smaller sections. A lot of details are actually being preserved in the geometry instead of everything becoming smooth. Like as you can see, even the parts from a different angle are sharp and the detail and sharpness is preserved in the model. So this is really nice. That's one of the biggest improvements in version 3.0. It's much better at holding the fine geometry, especially things like smaller raised shapes, curved sections, and mechanical connections and sharp intersections. Even the textures on these are amazing, exactly like in the reference. Now let's look at the same image generated with Meshy. From a distance, both look pretty good, but once you get closer, we can start checking how much of the original design actually preserved, or should I say survived. And so let me analyze the shape, and as you can see, it's nice, but I can see some smoothness over here, and it didn't do a great job from the back, and I think this is where Hi3D version 3.0 really shines. And for this example, I am liking the Hi3D results more. The smaller elements are easier to recognize and the overall mesh feels cleaner compared to Meshy AI. So the thing really impresses me about Hi3D is that when I gave the original image, it only gave one angle. So everything happened around the side, back, need to be figured out automatically, and Hi3D has done a great job doing that, while Meshy AI has lacked on that. So test number 2 will be a detailed product. Now let's try something closer to what I normally work with, a detailed product. So as you can see, it's a pretty detailed camera model, and I'm trying to generate it from both models with the same settings as we did in the test number 1. So this reference has multiple materials, sharp designs, lines, and smaller elements, and different surface finishes. With a product like this, even small mistakes can make the final model feel completely different different from the original design. So the results should be interesting. So again, I use the exact same reference for both tools, and I'm just gonna click on generate on both of these AI 3D tools. Alright, so the models are generated. Let's look up for the Hi 3D model first. Let's analyze it properly. So the first thing I notice on the Hi 3D result is how readable the smaller forms are. Like the edges, details just melted in one smooth shape, and that gives us a much stronger starting point. Now let's go to texturing, and as you can see, now the textures where things get really interesting. Hi 3D version 3.0 can generate textures up to 8K, so there's much more room for smaller patterns, color vibrations, variations, and logos and surface details, and they stay visible when you move closer. And for product realization, this actually matters a lot. If the asset is going to appear close on the camera, a texture that looks good only from far away isn't really enough. And I think where this is the criteria, then Hi 3D definitely shines the most. Alright, now for the Meshy AI, as you can see, there's room for some improvement. Meshy AI still gives us a decent result here, but on this particular reference, Hi 3D is keeping things more detailed, and I think this is where Meshy AI is lacking just a bit. As you can see, just from this 3D model view, there are so much details in the Hi 3D result compared to the Meshy AI result. And even in the texturing area, I think Hi 3D takes the lead because the colors are looking flat, and as you can see on the grip, there's no detail. It just blended in and melted away just like normal AI 3D tools do. Alright, so now it's time for test number 3. Let's completely change the type of model. For this one, I picked this organic subject. So instead of clean mechanical lines, now we are handling with natural curves, irregular shapes, small details, and much more softer transactions and transitions. So obviously, we'll again upload the same image on both AI 3D tools, and with the same setting, I'm gonna click on generate on both of these AI 3D tools, Hi 3D and Meshy AI. Both tools can obviously see the front of the reference, but I'm more interested in what happens when you rotate the result and view it from the back. Alright, so both models are done, and let's check the Hi 3D result first. So on the Hi 3D result, the overall form stays surprisingly consistent as we rotate it. The hidden areas feel more connected to the visible design instead of looking like completely different geometry. So this is the new improvement in the version 3.0 of Hi 3D. And as you can see, this is pretty impressive. Let's check the textures. Alright, so the textures also continue more naturally around those areas. That's important because hidden surfaces are normally where you start noticing stretchiness, and random patches or detail that suddenly stop making sense. And here, I don't see any of that. It's just a pure consistency and detailed texturing. It's obviously not going to magically know exactly what the original object looks like from behind, but the result feels more believable as a complete 3D model. Alright, now for the Meshy AI, I think the model is well detailed. The shading is pretty smooth, but I don't like I'm not feeling the vibe. Like, as you can see, it's too dramatic. And if I go to my texturing part, here the details start losing. As you can see, the textures are not resembling to the reference image I shared, and I think there are some lack of images, but nonetheless it's a very decent result and I'm still impressed. But if I am sharing a reference, I want the AI model to be as close as possible, and so for that I think Hi 3D takes full marks. Alright, last test number 4, complex architecture. And for this one, I want to make things properly difficult. The architecture reference has repeated patterns, small structures, multiple layers, sharp forms, curves, and a lot of objects overlapping each other, as you can see over here in the reference. Honestly, this is the exact kind of image where I expect image to 3D model to start losing information. So let's test it. I'm just gonna upload the image the same image in both models, and with the same maximized settings, I'm gonna click on generate on both of these models. Alright, so here's the Hi3D version 3.0 result, and here's the Meshy AI result. From the first view, both can definitely look impressive, but let's zoom in into the Hi3D result. And I am really impressed, like genuinely impressed, because the image I shared was not that high quality and it was just from a single angle. And as you can see, the details are amazing. Like even on the smallest of the surface, there are a lot of details preserved in the model. And if you look at the Hi3D one, it is decent from a little zoomed out, but if you zoom in, as you can see, the models get a bit smoother and there are not enough detail preserved in the model, which it can detect some marks of the board for Meshy AI. And for the most impressive part is that if we rotate around the model, as you can see, it's perfectly blended with the front view. And if we go over here, it has done a decent job, but there are some lacking of detail and blending. All right, let's check the texturing part. And if we look at the reference image, as you can see, it's contrasty, there are some shiny parts and stuff like that, and Hi3D executed it perfectly. As you can see, the textures are very, very high quality. Like you can just take the example of this door, and if we zoom out, like it is looking stunning. But over here the textures are washed out and not as detailed, because if we zoom in, as you can see, the textures are not that high quality and they are not well preserved. Like in this one, each part has its own texture, and from a distance it looks like that it is a proper separate part, but in this one they all blend together. So for me, this is where all those version 3.0 improvements starts making sense together. Better fine geometry is useful, but it's even more useful when the complete model also remains structurally consistent, because I don't need an AI model to be perfect, but what I need is a result that gives me a strong starting point and doesn't force me to rebuild half of it manually afterwards. And this is the perfect example of it. What actually stands out in Hi3D version 3.0? After testing all four references, there are three things I noticed the most. First, the geometry and mesh. Small details, raised shapes, curves, and sharper edges are much better preserved, which gives the model a cleaner and more detailed look even before relying on textures. Secondly is structure and stability. The model doesn't only need to look good from the original reference angle. Hi3D version 3.0 is doing a better job of keeping hidden areas, overlapping pieces, sides, and back more consistent as part of one complete object. And the third and most important is textures and materials. Version 3.0 supports textures up to 8K, and it has also improved textures information continues into the area where it's even not visible in the original image, so that impresses me a lot. Those three things together are probably what I care about most: detailed geometry, a model that actually holds together, and texture that still looks good when I get closer. So here are my final thoughts. After all these tests, I think that probably the biggest takeaway from me, Meshy gave me some good models too, and obviously the result can be changed depending on the image you use. I don't think any AI 3D tool is going to be perfect every single time, but with these references especially, one thing became more complicated. Hi3D version 3.0 was more consistent for me. The fine detail stayed clearer, the structure held together better from different angles, and the texture gave me more information when I started looking closely. So if I had to choose between these two based on the test, I'd go for Hi3D version 3.0 today. If you want to try Hi3D 3.0 by yourself, this is the best time. On August 19th and 20th, Hi3D 3.0 will have a limited 48 hours free trial, and the annual subscription will also be 70% off, and from August 21st it will be 60% off. You'll also get 500 bonus credits. If you sign up through the tracking link from my description, the first 200 users will get extra 500 credits. If you like the video, leave a like, subscribe, and let me know which 3D tool should I test next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.